Hi, I'm Carla. So recently I submitted a recipe to my local newspaper, the Winnipeg Free Press, to be included in their 12 Days of Christmas cookie exchange. And they picked my recipe, and I'm not surprised they did because it's quite unique. I make meringue mushrooms. I have made them every year for the past 45 years, and I give them out as gifts at Christmas time. And everyone really, really loves this. Now, I didn't invent this recipe. If you search the internet, you'll find all kinds of recipes to make meringue mushrooms, and they're all pretty similar. And mine is really no different. So I'm just going to show you all the ingredients that I have, and you'll see what's involved. First of all, the recipe you will find on the internet is usually calls for 3 egg whites and half a cup of sugar. So I've doubled this recipe. I like to do things in big batches, and I've doubled the recipe. So I'm going to start off with 6 egg whites, which I've started to do right now. And I'm just going to crack the last 6 one, and I'll show you that I use a little egg separator, but my eggs are warm. It's better to separate your eggs when they're cold and then let them sit to get warm. But as it happened, my eggs have been sitting out a bit. They're a little warm and a little tricky, so let's see if my egg separator does the job. And it just fell right through. Well, I'm not happy about that. I'm going to pour it through again. And the worst thing happened that could happen, my yolk fell into the whites. But never fear, we're going to solve this problem very easily with a swatted spoon. I'm pulling it right out and into my yolks. Now you have to see that that can happen to anybody, and it happened to me. But never fear, no yolk got into the whites. So let's measure and see how much I have here. What I want is 1 full cup of egg whites. And let's see how close I got. I'm looking at my thing here. 1 full cup, and you know what, it's not quite there. I'm going to do 1 more egg to get it there. As I said, I like a big recipe. This time I'm not going to let it fall through the thing. I'm going to separate it the old-fashioned way, going back and forth into the other half of the egg. And let's see if I can get it better this time. And there we go. So now I have a full 1 cup of egg whites, which I'm going to empty into a large bowl of my stand mixer. I'm going to put them into the stand mixer, and I've got the whisk attachment. Now this is everything else that I'm going to need for this recipe. I'm going to need 2 cups of berry sugar. Berry sugar is like a finer sugar than regular sugar, and you can use regular sugar if you want. It just takes a little longer for it to become incorporated. I'm going to use 2 cups of berry sugar. It's a 2-to-1 situation with the egg whites to the sugar. And then to keep the egg whites stable, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Let me just check my recipe. And I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. These kind of act as a stabilizer. And 2 tablespoons of vanilla. And that's the whole recipe for the meringue. So I'm going to make it up just like you would any kind of meringue. I'm going to beat them till they're fluffy. I'm going to beat till they're frothy. Then I'm going to slowly add the sugar. Then I'm going to keep beating and beating and beating till it's really stiff. Then I'll add the salt, the cream of tartar, and the vanilla. And then I should have a nice stiff meringue. So I'm going to start that, and then I'll show you what the next step will be. Okay, so we're back with our very stiff meringue. That was the easy part. Let's refresh. 1 cup of egg whites, 2 cups of sugar, half a teaspoon salt, half a teaspoon of cream of tartar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Beat it as stiff as you can. While it's beating, I did something that is a trick that you may not know. I took my cookie sheets, 4 cookie sheets, and I lined them a tinfoil shiny side down. All right, there they are, ready to go. All right. Now I have a 16-inch, just a Wilton pastry bag. I'm going to put it here with bang down the collar, and I'm going to spoon in, with a 1/2-inch tip at the bottom. And I'm going to spoon in my meringue mixture. And that's about half of it that's gone into here. I'm going to shake it down and pitch it at the top, tight, like this. And here we are, ready to go. So I'm just going to let it rest here for a moment while I move this aside. Put my mixer away. We don't need the mixer anymore. Wipe it off. Such an easy recipe. The cleanup is like nothing. Nothing gets too messy. Nothing gets too sticky. Just put my mixer away. I'm going to turn my oven on to 225. I have two double ovens. I'm going to turn them both on, and I'm going to put the racks separated. And now this is the part that people wonder about. How do you get the shape? First off, you fill a glass of water, plain water, and you're going to have a plain, just a regular knife sitting waiting for you. That's for when you do the stems. And we do the caps and the stems in 2 movements, separately. So here I go, I'm doing the caps now. I go from the stretch straight down and a little twist, and straight down and a little twist to bring it up. Straight down and a little twist. Nothing to it. Just keep going. Make them flatter or more rounded as how you put pressure on the top. Keep your right hand up here, guide it down here, straight down. And I'm going to fill all the cookie sheets like this. And with that much egg whites, I maybe get 100 mushrooms. I'm just going to finish this line. And then I'm going to show you how to do the stems. They don't really grow. You can put them a little bit close together. What you want is them to stay crisp, so with a snap to them. You don't want chewy, sticky meringues, too soft. This is why people say don't make them in the summertime. Don't make it when it's humid. So that's not a problem for me. I live in Winnipeg. Our heat is on already. This is November, and our heat is definitely going. The temperature is hovering around 3 degrees Celsius, 36 Fahrenheit. All right, I'm going to come back to these in a minute because there's more to it, but I want to show you how I do the stems. These to a side. Take another cookie sheet. I keep the stems and the caps separate. And now I'm switching hands. And I'm going to put a knife in my hand, and I'm going to also do straight down, pull up, and cut. And straight down, and if I've made it thick enough, they should stay standing. Push a little to give your base a little firmness, and then pull up, and push, and pull up. And then take your knife and scrape it on the side of the glass. And just keep doing the same thing. You can make your stems as thick or not too thin or they'll topple over. That's my oven saying it's ready. Okay, so I've seen people do different things. I've seen them kind of try to pipe the stems on their side. Well, I don't like that. That's, you know, then they got a flat edge to them. So I just keep going like this. And at some point I'll count and I'll see how many tops have I got and how many bottoms, because I want them to come out even. My son wants me to say that he doesn't eat chocolate. So he wants them not to come out even so he can have all the rejects that don't have chocolate on them. So I'm going to stop that there. I'm going to show you what I have. You see I've still got lots more to go. This is what the stems look like. Can you see them? This is what the stems look like. This is what the caps look like. And I'm going to stop and finish up, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. So I've kind of filled these 2 cookie sheets. You can see them. And now I'm going to do the next little step. Take some cocoa powder, pure cocoa powder, premium cocoa powder, and take a tea strainer, very fine tea strainer. And with a spoon, put a teaspoon of cocoa in the thing. And now you're going to dust your meringues to make them look like they've been in the dirt a bit. You know, just like mushrooms look. And just by dusting them like this, now do the caps a little more than the stems even. Give them that dusting of cocoa. Tap, 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 tap. This is how you do it. Barely takes a teaspoon to cover everything. So I have 51 caps and a few more stems, no problem, because I have lots more meringue batter and I have to finish those up on other cookie trays. Okay, so that's done. It didn't even use a teaspoon. And these 2 trays are ready to go in the oven. So they're going to go in the oven right now at 225. And they're going to stay in the oven for at least 60 minutes, and then I'm going to turn the oven off and let them cool in the oven. Hi, so we're back again another day. Today is the second day, and we're going to finish up this project, and that won't take too long. I'll show you how it goes. So we have the caps, and we have the stems, and we have to figure out a way to join them. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt some chocolate. And that's what this is. Melted chocolate. It's the wafer kind. It's coating chocolate that you buy. I think they're called Meringues or something like that. Dark chocolate, and that's my preference. I don't buy fancy chocolate because sometimes fancy chocolate has to be tempered, and I'd rather just have the basic coating chocolate, and it works out just fine. So what you have to do is you have to take a little stem like this, and you have to get rid of that point at the top. You want to shave it off a tiny bit so that there's something flat to adhere to the cap. So I'm just going to shave these off a bit with just take a little serrated knife and just shave off the tops of the caps like this. Actually, not the caps, the stems. We're shaving off tops of the stems like that. And now we're going to glue them together. So I'm going to take a nice big cap, and I'm going to take some of my melted chocolate and I'm going to spread it on in a circle like this. And then I'm going to take a stem and I'm going to shove it in and I'm going to move it around so that it adheres. And then I'm going to place it upside down on my cookie sheet. And I'm just going to keep doing that with all these stems I have and caps. Now yesterday I made a second batch. So in fact I made a second double batch. And when I counted up, I had over 200 stems and caps to turn into mushrooms. And I love that because I've got a huge recipe and I've got lots to give away. and that's what works well. So I'm just putting a little bit of chocolate on like that, taking my stem, shoving it in, smoothing it around, and putting it upside down like this. Now yesterday I did something different, a little trick. I made them candy striped. Can you see that? And the way I did that was by taking some edible food coloring, the kind you use when you make icings and stuff, and I took my pastry bag and with a paintbrush, I painted 2 stripes of red into the pastry bag. And then when I filled it with the big meringue mixture, as it came out piped, it came out striped like that. And it's very cute, and it's very festive, and it's kind of for the season. So I'm just going to finish up a few more of these. I'm just putting the chocolate on, finding a matching one that kind of is the right size for it, swishing it around, and putting it upside down on a cookie sheet. And I'm just going to do 2 more, and then I'll show you some presentation ideas. Try not to drip your chocolate everywhere. If you don't think you have enough chocolate on the bottom here, take your little stem and kind of dip it in, and that just gives it a little bit more to adhere to. Okay, so I'll do 2 more, just to give you an idea. So I think that for a recipe that called for 1 cup of egg whites and 2 cups of sugar, I'm using about 1.5 cups of chocolate wafers. So here they go. So I have a few more to do, but I don't have to do that right now. You move this away. This is what it looks like. They're all sitting here waiting to dry, to set. And once they're set, here's some ideas. If you're serving them in your own home, just find a very pretty bowl. This is a pretty little red crystal bowl that I inherited. And just fill it with about 2 dozen mushrooms. That's one way to do it. If you have a lot that you want to put out, get a bigger bowl, a pretty crystal bowl. If you're giving them as gifts, here's a couple of presentation ideas. So I like to save, I buy mushrooms in those little mushroom packages through the winter, not always, but when I have about, enough stored, I can stop buying them that way. And then I fill them with shredding. And each of these has about 15 mushrooms in them, cello wrapped, pretty gift. If I just want to give someone a tiny little treat, just buy a little treat bag, put 4 inside. Really good. So these are all the ideas. I'm very excited that I have so many mushrooms to deal with. Now I've made 2 recipes. It's November. I might do it twice again, and then I'll see how many more I need to give away, to give as gifts to whoever I would like. It's just a nice gift to give, a hostess gift if I'm invited to a party, or to thank someone in some way. And this is my recipe for meringue mushrooms. Just a quick recap, what you'll need. Now I'm going to give you the double recipe. You're going to need cookie sheets lined with tin foil, dull side up, shiny side down. You're going to need 1 cup of egg whites at room temperature, 2 cups of berry sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And that's the recipe to make up the meringues. Then when they're all done, you're going to need cocoa powder to dust over the top. And then you're going to need about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of chocolate wafers to glue them all together. And now we're done. What fun was that?